Hi, and welcome back to Loki. It's not a podcast. I am Amanda, as you know, and I hate intros because they're so awkward and it's just like, what do you say? So we're just gonna dive on in. So this week, you heard me on Monday. I released a podcast talking with Cam, or Camden Coleman, and we talked about like healing and just having faith in God and having all that stuff. And I felt like our podcast was so good that I couldn't even like respond to it because it was just that good. I was like, what else do I say? Because Cam was preaching and she was saying such good things and she had such good words. And I feel like we had such a good conversation that I actually felt it on my heart to share my birth story instead. So I feel like I talk about it a lot on here. Like you hear me like mention how it wasn't like the greatest a couple times and how I had a lot of scary things happen. And so I thought I would share it, and not as a like, oh, poor me, or this horrible thing happened, because trust me, what happened to me was so sad and scary and it sucked and I would never wish it upon anybody else. But at the same time, I know there's a lot more worse things that have happened to people, and I don't want to take away from someone that like has lost a child or a spouse or anything like that through birthing, the birthing process. So I'm just going to share a little bit of my heart and what I feel like, I don't know, what really, like, I don't know, like how I felt going through that entire process and how I'm here now. So if you know me, you know that I am a super like scheduled person. I like things a certain way. I definitely like romanticize a lot of things in my head. Probably why my expectations always get let down. I am a romanticizer of every situation, not just love, but like the way my house should look and my friendships. And even like when I go get like coffee with someone, like I like envision how it's going to go in my head, and then it never goes that way. And not that I like get let down, but I don't know. It's just a weird thing that I wish I could just like shut off. I don't know if any girls relate to that, but and maybe it's a girl thing. Maybe it's just a me thing. Maybe I'm a weirdo. I could totally believe I'm just a weirdo. But I love to romanticize things. And so when me and my husband decided we were ready to get pregnant, I was so excited. I had a IUD in. I think that's how you call it. That was a horrible experience. Hence why we started probably trying earlier than we actually wanted to, because I just wanted that thing out. Sorry if that's TMI. I don't even know if that's TMI. To me, that's not. It's birth control. But anyway, I hated it, and I was having just like really bad side effects from it. I passed out in my doctor's office when I got it inserted, and they had to like, I woke up and I was like sitting in a chair, and they had like they had cold, like wet paper towels on me, because I think that's like all they had. And they were trying to give me pretzels, and couldn't eat gluten at the time. So I ended up eating them though, because I was so scared, because I passed out and I like didn't want to pass out again. So I was eating them, and I remember like having the worst stomach ache later. So I had a bad experience with an IUD, but some people love it. Like my sister-in-law loves hers. But anyway, so I went to go in January of, I don't even know what year it was, maybe like 2019 or 2020. I think 2020. I don't even know, guys. Maybe 2020, 2021. I don't know. And anyway, I got that. I went to the doctor's office, got that removed, because around Christmas time, or on Christmas, my husband's Christmas present to me was that I could get off birth control and we could start trying and we could start a family. I was so excited, had this expectation that I was going to get this out and get pregnant in like 3 months, and it was going to be so much fun, and we were just going to have the best life and the best pregnancy and the best blah, 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 and just live our best life. We had a baby boy name that we felt like God told us, and we were going to name our son that. And if you know, I don't have a son. And so anyway, so yeah, I got it out, and I did not get pregnant in 3 months. I got pregnant in, my husband like corrected me, because I think on another podcast I said, or like a reel I did or something, I said 1.5 years. So I don't think it was actually 1.5 years. I think it was like 1 year and like 3 or 4 months. Basically 1.5 years. I exaggerate. I round up. It is what it is. That's who I am. It's my personality. But it took a while. And so I actually got pregnant with my first pregnancy exactly like almost a year. It was December. We found out, the beginning of December, we found out we were pregnant. We were so excited. I felt good. I was like happy, living my best life. I was like, we got this baby boy in here, even though we don't know what it is. And I probably shouldn't call baby it, but it is what it is. And we were so happy, ready, like I was making Christmas gifts to like tell everybody about my pregnancy, and I like 2 days before, or 3 days before Christmas, my niece came over. We were getting our nails done together. She came over, and we had this girl come to my house and do our nails together so we could get our nails done. And I started bleeding right before she came. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to accept it. Like, but in my mind, I knew I was losing the baby. And in the back of my mind, I was like, I knew it, but I was like, I'm just going to ignore it. I had the worst pain. Like, I was bent over, could not stand up. Like, I hurt so bad. And I was just ignoring it. And I was like, I'm just going to continue, because if I don't think about it, it's not happening. No one can tell me. Like, no one's taking my baby from me. Like, it's my baby. I waited like a year for this baby. It's going to come here. And so finally got to the point where my husband came down. He called his sister and was like, you need to come get your daughter because Amanda's having a miscarriage and I need to take her to the hospital because she's in like a lot of pain. And I was like crying in pain. And I remember just when I like backing up, first off, we'll back up a little bit. So first off, the feeling of watching social media and people announcing their pregnancies and my friends telling me they're pregnant. We didn't really tell a lot of people we were trying, hurt so much. And I mean, I only tried for a year. I can't imagine the people that tried. My mom tried, I think, for like 8 years for me or something like that. So I can't even imagine people who go through that and have to go through IVF. Like, my heart literally breaks for you because I could barely make it a year. Like, I was struggling. It hurt so bad. I still get emotional thinking about the feelings that I felt and the way that when people would announce their pregnancies, my heart would just break, and it was horrible. And I wouldn't wish that upon anybody in the world, even like someone that is like my worst enemy. Like, I wouldn't wish that on you because it hurts a lot, and it is just, it's not fair. And I don't know why it happens. I don't know why God doesn't intervene. I don't know. And I'm sorry that you have to go through that. And I really just, I have a heavy heart for people who struggle getting pregnant because I just know the feelings that I felt. I remember every tear I cried and every time I took a pregnancy test and it would be negative, and like the disappointment and my period being so late and my cycle being off. But the one thing that really just like pushed me through it all was having my husband and like talking to him about it. And the one thing I regret that I would tell anybody that's trying is find people around you to pray for you, or if you're not a person that prays, find someone to support you, because you need a community when you're doing that and you're struggling with that. You can't do it alone. You can't. Mentally, we're not made to struggle alone. We're meant to walk through it with people. You're meant to have people in your corner cheering you on and helping you through that grief. And it is grief. So allow yourself to grieve. It's okay. And talk to people and let people come around you and let them help you mentally and emotionally, physically. Like, I mean, there's so many things that go into it, but like, let people help you, because that's one thing. There's an ad, sorry. But that's one thing that really I regret doing, because I wish I let more people in to help me during that situation. And so going forward, I get pregnant where I'm like, so we found out from the doctor, like after I had the miscarriage, we found out like based on the time I took the pregnancy test and when I had my appointment, I was around like 7 weeks-ish, 6-ish week. It was like between like, they said between 6 and 8. So I would just say 7 because it's in the middle. I feel like that's just the best way. They said it was between 6 and 8 weeks when I had the miscarriage, because I had a doctor's appointment the next week, literally right after Christmas. And I was like so excited. Like, I remember making all the gifts to announce my pregnancy to people. Like, I already started with my Cricut, like making stuff, because at Christmas we were going to tell everybody, which it's your first kid. You always announce it way too early. And I was devastated. I was in the I remember being in the bathroom, like just leaning over my, like in the fetal position, like on the floor, because my husband left for a little bit because he had to go help our friends with their house. And I remember just like being bent over, like crying. And my dog was just like laying there, probably terrified, because she's like, why is she crying? And just like, I literally remember asking like out loud, like, God, why? Why? I was faithful. I prayed. I did everything right. Like, I like wanted this so bad. You knew I wanted this. Why would you give me a name and then you would take that child from me? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, why do you feel like you need to like take that away from me? That's not your right. You can't take that away from me, and nobody can take it away from me. And I just remember like I had the most ginormous pity party, which You're allowed to. And like, I wish I would have allowed myself more to feel my feelings because I think that I breezed past it really quickly because it was just like Christmas time and it was chaos. And so I go to the hospital and we had the best doctors, the best nurses. This little man, not little, he was not a little man. I'm a little person. He was taller than me. But this guy kept coming in and he kept telling me, like, God bless you. I'm so sorry. God bless you. Like, and he just kept saying it over and over again. And it was almost like I needed to hear it. And Matt ended up telling a couple of our friends and our family just to like avoid people like texting me and stuff and like I don't know and like saying the wrong thing or anything. So Matt reached out to a couple people to pray for me because I mean I did not know. First off, no one like tells you when you go through a miscarriage like the pain you go through. Like was not expecting that at all. I don't know why it was so painful. But it was really like my stomach. I remember being like bent over. Like I literally feel like I'm giving birth right now. Like why does this hurt so bad? And but like in the hospital, everyone was so good to us. Our nurses were so good, and everything was great. I ended up switching my like gynecologist to the people that were in that hospital because I loved that hospital so much, and I felt like they just really cared for me and just they saw me as a person, not as just like some. They didn't see me as someone like just having a miscarriage. They saw me as like a person and who I was, and I like loved that. So we leave the hospital. Um, we Me and my husband were just filled with so much joy from everyone's prayers for us. Let me tell you, it's important to have prayer warriors around you. And when I say like we felt joy, like I don't know, it was just extremely like I don't even know what it was. It was just joy. We were just happy. And I was like, why do I just feel peace and joy in this moment when it's like this is supposed to be like earth shattering to me, which it was. So anyway, we go back. We're like, we really bonded me and Matt going through that together and like him being by my side. I'm sorry for if anyone has ever done that alone. That's not fair that if you've ever sat in that hospital alone. When I was laying there and I had to get the internal ultrasound, I remember just like thinking to myself, this is like horrible that they even make you do this after you just like lost a baby. And then you have to lay there and you have to hear no heartbeat. And I'm gonna get emotional because that broke my heart. Like hearing like my baby, there was no heartbeat. And and the ultrasound lady, she actually she stopped halfway through and like held my hand and because she saw me crying and she was like, I'm so sorry. And I wish they would have let Matt come back there with me, but it was probably good he wasn't because he was so strong for me. But yeah, it was really hard hearing that noise. So I'm sorry. I'm getting all emotional. I'm sorry to anyone who ever had to go through that alone because you shouldn't have. And anyone that knows me and is in this area where I live, like, I hope you know I'm a person you can reach out to. I will go to that doctor's appointment with you with you. I will not let you go alone because no one should ever have to do that alone. It was literally horrible. And so we leave the hospital and everything, feeling pretty good. Like we felt God's peace. We really felt like, all the text messages I got that people, I was like, at first I was mad Matt told people because it was embarrassing. When I like thought about it later, I was really happy that he told people because them reaching out just made me feel so loved. And like I had a community around me and it was what I needed like at the time. And I didn't know that. But we left a couple days later, so we have Christmas, we have all these things, and I'm just trying to feel no emotion, like, at all. Like, I'm trying to just block out all the emotion, and my dog was, like, attached to my hip because I think she knew I was a little sad, and it was hard, and we were supposed to be I remember Christmas Day being like, this is the day that I was supposed to announce my pregnancy to our family, and I can't do that. And I just was like, what's the point of Christmas? Like, why did it have to happen on like a holiday? Like, why couldn't it happen a different day? And so we got through Christmas, and I was just still really heartbroken. And we got through the new year, and there was so much chaos that I remember like mid to end January, I had a mental breakdown. I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't carry a kid. Like, what kind of wife am I that I can't provide a kid from my husband? Like, who am I? Like, why did he marry me? He's stuck with me. I can't provide a family for him, and he's going to be such a great dad. And like, I literally like blamed myself for so many things, and it's horrible. And so, I ended up, I don't even remember. I think I called my mom and like talked to her about it because my mom had fertility issues. And I called her and I was just like, I am like, I don't know why I'm so sad. Like, I don't have a right to be sad. Like, way worse things happen to people. And like, the baby was only 6 weeks old and like, or 6 to 8 weeks old, or however old they said they were. I always say it's a he. I don't know why. I always just accidentally say that. So I don't know. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Who knows? Only God knows. But I remember her telling me that you went through a traumatic thing in the midst of such happy holidays that you were so focused on like getting through it that you didn't get to feel. And even too, like my cousin had her gender reveal um on, it was like the day after Christmas, because you know how family comes in for Christmas, and we went and she was like, you don't everyone was like, you don't have to come. And I was really mad at my mom because she told a bunch of my family about it. So everyone, you feel, everyone likes you because you're the sad person that everyone has to feel bad for at Christmas. And we sat there and we but we made the best out of it, me and Matt. And I'm so thankful that Matt is such a good husband and just he always carries me through situations. But we go to this gender reveal and I'm just holding everything in and like I'm like, don't, like, just be happy, like just genuinely, like I remember praying and being like, God, I just need to be genuinely happy for her. Like I don't want to pity myself. I don't want to be mad at the situation. Like just let me be happy for her. And I did, and I was in the moment of everything. Like I always say God just like got me through that time, like just to get through it so that I could just grieve on my own. And I didn't allow myself to grieve, and I think that's why I got so bad the end of January. And so my mom was like, you went through all those things and you just like put a strong front on and you didn't allow yourself to take the time to grieve. Like you lost a part of, like, because I kept telling her I felt like I lost a part of me. And it is true. You do lose a part of you. That baby was a part of you, and it was a part of Matt. Like Matt lost a part of him too. And so me and Matt, like we talked and we prayed it through, and like we were like, you know what, like it's okay that we're gonna have more kids. This is just like a little flaw, a little fluke in the plan, and that's okay. But I remember saying to Matt that I just really felt God put on my heart, that we already have one kid up in heaven rejoicing with God, and that we like didn't have to do anything, and they got to miss all the horrible earthly crap that we go through, and they just get to be in heaven dancing with God, and we get to see them one day. And you know what, we brought someone to Jesus. That's all that matters. Is if we fail on earth to bring one person to Christ, at least we brought our one child to God, because I do believe he or she is with God. And so then we feel better. February, March go by, we feel better. We're just like, we agreed we weren't going to try. We're just going to like live our life, and let's give ourselves time to like process everything, and like, well, let's just put this in God's hands and God's timing. And I just remember seeing all the birthing announcements, January, February, just all the pregnancy announcements, and everyone being so excited about all their pregnancy announcements and everything. And I was just like, it hurt every time. It just cut to my core. And one of our best friends actually got pregnant the same time I did. And she had the same due date I calculated mine on like that app, and my doctor, like, how the doctor like asks you when your last period was, and that's how they like calculate it. So my doctor like did that, and they told me that was like my estimated due date. And I was like, she has around the same due date as me, because I put it in my phone, my due date in my phone, and I never forgot to delete it and stuff. So when August came around, it was very hard for me. But anyway, so like hearing her and like all of her stuff being announced, like she announced the gender of her baby, and it was a boy, and they told us that they called us to tell us they were pregnant, and I like had to be happy for them. And it was really hard because they told us like maybe like a week after my miscarriage, so I was not in the best headspace. So it was definitely like really hard for me, because I felt like that should have been me. And when you're trying and like that happens to you, or like something devastating happens, and then you hear the person go, yeah, we weren't really trying, it just like kind of happened. And then like when it happened, we just like knew. I remember being like, can you just like shut up? Which is like horrible. It's horrible, but in the moment you're like, just shut up. Like no one cares. Like shut up. Like you're saying all the wrong things to me right now. And so that was just so if you are going through that season of life, allow yourself to just feel. It's okay if you feel bad feelings. Like, allow yourself to feel, because you can't come out of those bad feelings until you just feel it, and like allow yourself to be emotional, allow yourself to hurt, allow yourself to grieve, allow yourself to be happy in the dumb times. Like, just allow yourself to feel. I think we're so scared of, like, I've always been scared to be like a bad person. That's like my deepest fear, is that I'm gonna hurt people, and I'm going to fail at like loving people. And like, that's the thing, is that you are going to fail because you're not perfect, and bad things happen, and it's okay. And you're allowed to be mad at people. You're allowed to hurt. And like, as long as you're feeling those feelings, then move on. But you can't move on until you allow yourself to feel those feelings. And I think I just shoved everything down that I wasn't feeling it in the moment. So that I just turned bitter, and I got bitter. And it took me a while to like kind of get out of that. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't even think I got out of it until I always say accidentally. We weren't like preventing pregnancy, but I accidentally got pregnant with my daughter, who we have now. In, I want to say, the end of March, I think we found out, and we waited to tell people for a really long time. I waited to announce my pregnancy until June, right before my gender reveal, because I was so scared of. We told our families, just because, like, you know. I told my mom, and my mom was like, or I told my sister, and I'm pretty sure my sister probably doesn't even remember saying this, but my sister said to me, like, you should tell a couple people, like, tell your family, allow yourself to be excited about it. Like, you're allowed to be excited that you're pregnant. And I remember just feeling like I can't be excited, because like, what if the same thing happens over again? Like, I don't want to get all excited just to like lose the baby. And I remember it was like literally horrible. And I just constantly in the back of my mind just didn't want to tell people. I was everything I did, I was so scared that I would do something to like lose the baby again. And the first couple of months I got really sick, to the point where I like literally couldn't keep water down, and I had to get medicine to help me keep food down, because I lost a lot of weight. Actually, I looked the best pregnant. I looked good pregnant, and I'm like annoyed now, because I'm like, I put on all this weight, and I'm like, what the heck? My pregnancy, I was like so skinny and so fit and nice. Like, it was so nice. I like unintentionally like really took care of myself, but it's because I lost like so much weight from throwing up in the beginning. But so we told a little bit of family at Easter, just like our close family, and then we didn't announce it until like June. And I remember like praying so hard that, God, when I announce this, don't make me like go back on my word. Like this baby's coming. Like, don't take it away from me. And when we found out it was a girl, me and my husband were, I'm not gonna lie, we were a little sad, because we felt that God gave us the name. I'm not gonna say it, because hopefully one day I have a boy and I can use it. And I always get weird about people taking my baby name, so I'm allowed to be that weirdo. But but we were so mad, because we had this name picked out, and like we really felt God. It was about this guy in the Bible, and we really felt like God told us that our kid was gonna have the qualities of this, our son was gonna have these qualities of this guy, and you gave us a girl. Like, what? Like, was that even God? I remember just questioning everything, and like questioning basically my entire existence. Like, I just went through this weird thing. And then I'm like, you can't be mad at yourself. Like, but I had that unrealistic expectation that I was going to have a good pregnancy, and it wasn't good. I had an expectation that I wasn't going to have a miscarriage, and I had a miscarriage. And I had the expectation that God was going to give us a boy, and then I didn't get it. And it was just like all this unrealistic things I was planning in my head for it to all just not go that way, which that's just life. And so we just like, we're kind of sad, I'm not gonna lie. And it sounds bad, but our daughter is so perfect. She is my husband's like spitting image, but she has little bits of me too, that I always just say she's the perfect mix of us. And like, she has all our good parts, but she also has all our bad parts. And we just love her so much, and she's such a little spitfire that I know she's gonna do great things. But so during my pregnancy, I was so scared. And everything I did, I was like, I don't want this to contribute to losing the baby. Like, I was so like picky on like the way I slept, the products I used on myself, and the products we used in our house, and like our laundry detergent. Like, I was so like scared someone was going to take this baby away from me. Like, it was bad. And I felt like it took me a while, probably until I was like 9 months pregnant. I feel like I really didn't like enjoy being pregnant. Or wait, 9 months pregnant, that's full term. So probably like, which June, like, so probably like 6 months. Because I feel like 3 months I only really enjoyed it. But 6 months. And then I was like, I'm not going to lie. I got in this weird thing of, I don't want to like, I'm like scared that I'm going to lose, like birth a stillborn baby. It was such a like thought I had in the back of my mind that scared me so much. And I was so scared for it. And so we come up to our appointment and it comes up to, I'm like 8 months pregnant and they're like, it's a month before Naya's due. And we decided the name of Naya. We felt like God gave us that name. And, Naya Grace is her name. And we were like, I go to the doctor's appointment, they're like, you're really big. And I'm like, yeah, I know, everyone tells me how big I am. And they're like, no, like you're measuring like really big. So they thought Naya was going to be really big. And heads up, they were wrong. She was not. So they insisted I needed another ultrasound. They needed to check the fluid in my belly, yada, yada, yada. So I go to this ultrasound appointment. Everything turned out great. Like there's nothing wrong with her. They thought that she was measuring around like 8 pounds, the ultrasound said. So they were kind of like getting nervous. So I see a different doctor who I normally don't see. And because in the practice, they make you see every doctor. And he comes up to me and he's like, hey, has anyone ever told you about your pelvic bone? And I'm like, no. Like, what pelvic bone? And he's like, it's like really awkward. I say things I probably shouldn't, so I'm just gonna say it. But he had his hand like inside me and is like, yeah, I feel this. Like, and he's like, your pelvic bone is shaped. So I guess like, I don't want to like drop the microphone, but I guess most girls are like, like you're like a U almost, like a wide. I guess that's how your pelvic bone's supposed to be. And mine was more like pointy, like it was more like together, like it was narrow. And he was saying that, has anyone ever talked to you about a C-section? And I was like, no. And I was kind of like, what the heck? Like, how have I gone this long that no one told me about C-section? My baby's due in a month. Like, what do I do? Like, I remember being so nervous. And I went back and like told Matt all about it. And I was like, what do we do? Like, what if I have to get a C-section? Like, should we be thinking about these things that we have to get? Like, I didn't know what to do. And so, we decided that we were just going to go with the flow. I was going to be relaxed. I was going to do whatever my doctors told me was best, and that's what we were going to do. So I go back to my other appointment because now I'm at weekly appointments. And I go to my next appointment, and I mention it to her that the last doctor, he told me that I might have to get C-section. He like prepared me, and he said I have this like narrow pelvic bone. And she's like, no, I don't know why he said that. You're fine to give birth naturally. And I was just like, oh, okay. So the rest of my pregnancy goes good. I was literally working until the day before my daughter was due because I don't sit. I hate sitting and like being sat. Like I just don't like to sit and like soak and like I can't relax. It bugs me. And so I was working. We were walking every day trying to get to like have her. Then the week before my due date, my doctor was like, I think you should schedule an induction. She said, Anaya, your belly is getting really big. It's like still growing. And she's still growing. And I'm nervous that if she gets too big, you're really tiny, you're not gonna be able to push her out. Like if she gets around 10 pounds, we might have to do a C-section. And they were just like saying how like an induction's really good. It's good to not go past your due date. All this stuff. Now it was 25 at the time. I had done no research. I was just going to trust my doctors, go with what they said. I was like, whatever, like we'll do that. So we did do that. I scheduled my induction and it was horrible. I went in on like did I go in on a Wednesday? We went in on a Wednesday morning at like 6 a.m. They started the pills and nothing was happening. I was moving so slow. I was at 3 centimeters, I feel like forever. Like 3 centimeters forever. It was so annoying. But I feel like a lot of people I talk to, we all get stuck at 3 centimeters. So I don't know. Maybe that's just how it works. But so they like induced me. They had me walking around. I was bouncing on a yoga ball. We were just trying to get this going along. And it took a while until Friday. My third day on induction, Friday, it gets around like 12 o'clock and they're like, oh, you're up to 5. And so they gave me, I don't even know, the IV, I don't know medical terms. So then they gave me like the IV, I want to say it's like myotocin or something like that. That might be really wrong. Actually, don't quote me on that. I don't know anything medically. But they gave me the IV of it to get it moving faster. And they're like, it might slow it down a little bit. That's usually what happens. And I was like, oh, okay. And so then we really let me tell you, from Wednesday to the time my daughter was born. I freaking was in labor and it was horrible. And I wish that someone would have warned me that, hey, when they like speed up this process, like you have contractions, like because I didn't know that and it was hurting so bad. And I was trying to do it as natural as possible. But at the same time, it was my first baby of delivery. And I was like, like, I don't want any pressure if I have to do it this way, I have to do it that way. Like, I just want what's going to happen. And I just want to be prepared for anything and everything. And what better way to be prepared for that than is to just go with the flow. And that's how I was. And I was like, if I need an epidural, I'll get one. If I don't, I don't. Like, I'm just going to try it out. I had a pretty high pain tolerance. So I was like, we'll just like wing it. And so it got to the point though where I was just exhausted and they were like, if you're gonna get the epidural, like now is the time to do it. I was going on because I couldn't sleep because of the contractions. I literally hadn't slept in like 2 days. So I was just like, okay, just give me the epidural. So they made Matt leave. They give me the epidural. He comes back. I'm feeling great. I'm happy. I'm talking. I'm chatting. They come in. They're like, all right, we're breaking your water. They broke my water. It literally sounded, okay, first off, everyone told me it's not a whoosh. Mine was a whoosh. So I don't know why or what happened. That mine was literally like a whoosh. And then they tell me, your daughter pooped in you. And so we're going to, like, that's okay. You shouldn't be worried about it. You're fine. Now, people I've talked to have said that that's not an okay thing. So, like I said, I'm not a doctor. I'm not here to say what went wrong, what didn't. I don't know medically. So, but she did poop in me. So they were like, that's fine. You're okay. You're fine. Like, whatever. So I think they wait like an hour. They prep me. We start pushing with the nurses. And I'm like laughing. I'm talking and joking with them. And they're like, oh, like I feel her. She's starting to come down the birth canal. So I'm like, yeah, like this isn't bad at all. I'm glad I got the epidural. I'm like having a conversation here, pushing my kid out. Like, this is fun. And I'm talking, me and my husband were cracking jokes. All of a sudden, I start shaking uncontrollably, like could not control it. I'm like, I kept telling them I'm freezing. Like, there's something wrong. I'm so cold. I'm so cold. And they're like, no, this is normal. This is normal. Then all of a sudden I start throwing up blood. That was, I'm sure, fun for everybody watching. And so I started throwing up. We stop everything. They go and get the doctor. My doctor comes running in. She's like, let's put her on this and this. I had in my thing that I had a penicillin allergy because when I was little, I had mono and I had an allergic reaction to penicillin because of the mono. Never got allergy tested for it. We just always put it in my chart that I couldn't have penicillin. That's what my pediatrician told me, and I never got tested. And which is probably my fault because I'm an adult now. But so they gave me some other like substitute, and they're like, okay, you're feeling better. They let me take a rest for an hour of pushing, which was hard to not push for an hour. And they're like, okay, you can't push for an hour. Like, let's just wait. But they were saying she got down far. They're like, they could see her head, but she was just kind of stuck. And I remember I looked my doctor in the eye and I said, I will do whatever needs to be done. I'm not losing another baby. If you need to do the C-section, just do the C-section. And she's like, no, I think you can push naturally. So the doctor stayed in there, actually took over to push because I guess they could feel her head or something or see it or something, but they can't, like, she was like stuck on my pelvic bone, which the one doctor said that was going to happen, and they assured me that was not going to happen. But anyway, so she is stuck. So we go to, all of a sudden, they're like, push, you need to push again. We're going to push again. Let's try this naturally and let's get her out. So I was like, okay. So I'm like ready to push, and I go to put, my mom came in the room at that point because I felt bad. Matt, my husband, was like, Matt, like I was freaking out. Like I was just out of it. I think Matt was a little nervous, and we were just like, I just want my mom to come in and like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. They're saying things. I don't know what they're saying. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, so mom ended up coming back and was standing there. And all of a sudden, I remember them pushing my mom out of the room. All the machines are going off, and they're like, putting my leg down and grabbing Matt and having him get in scrubs, and they're like rolling me out of the room. I swear it was like a movie. I just like blinked, and it was just so dramatic, like everything going. And I'm like, what's happening? Like, what's happening? And then they're like telling me like, hey, we're rushing you to a C-section. Like, we need to get you a C-section now. Your daughter's heart rate dropped. And I was like, okay, like, And I didn't even know what was going on because I was on all that medicine. Like I had all these IVs in me, I had an epidural. Like I was just like so out of it. I was exhausted. I didn't know what was happening. I was just going in there. And I remember just like laying, like they put me on the table and I'm just like laying there like this, like a dead person, like just staring at the bright lights. And I'm like, what the heck? Like I felt like my husband laughed because when eventually they walked him in, I was like, I feel like I'm in Grey's Anatomy. And then he said all he remembers is like my body like going up on the table and like they're like pulling our daughter out and like my body was like moving. And I looked at him and I was like, this is not like Grey's Anatomy. We still like laugh about it. But I remember just seeing him like sobbing and I'm like, what's wrong? Like, I'm okay. I'm okay. Like, look, I'm right here. Like I was grabbing his hand, like to feel my face. I was like, I'm right here. Like, what is wrong? Like, he's gonna be mad. I'm telling everybody this, but like he was like sobbing. Like I've never seen him cry like that. And I was like, what's wrong? And then all of a sudden, like our daughter came out, or maybe he started crying when she came out. And when like we heard her crying and he was like, you don't know this, but they told me that she might not be breathing when she comes out. And I was like, what? Like I was so shocked and just like, what just happened? And so they told him he could go see her, but he wasn't allowed, like he'd have to leave me. And then he was like, no, like I want to stay with her. And so he ended up staying with me. And we go and so like they bring her over eventually and they put her on my chest as they're like stitching me back up. And we go, I remember this, they rolled us back, they took her, he left, they rolled me back into the room, got us all set up. I went and my doctor came in, talked to me, told me everything went really well. Everyone was complimenting my belly on how I looked like I didn't even have a kid. I was so skinny, like what the heck, all this stuff. And I was just like, oh, good. Like, and I remember like looking up and being like, oh, wow, I do look good. Like, let's go. And I was like 3 a.m. I'm breastfeeding our daughter and I'm like falling asleep breastfeeding her, but she did so good like breastfeeding and I was so excited. And I was like, everything went like, it went wrong and chaotic for a second, but like she was so perfect and she breastfed, like she did everything she was supposed to do. Like I was like, let's go. Like she went to sleep right away. All the doctors were saying like she's like the perfect baby. I was like, this is awesome. So we go back to our room. In the morning, they like make you get up and walk, which is so mean. It's so mean. After having an epidural and a spinal, trying to stand up, I remember being like, this is mean. But so I stood up, they made me walk around. Like I was feeling good. I was eating, like just enjoying our daughter. Like I was so happy. And then the next night, they told us the next morning they would release us. So that night we go to bed and all of a sudden I start uncontrollably shaking. And I'm like, Matt, he's like sleeping on the couch across from me. I'm like, Matt, something's wrong. Like I can't stop shaking. Like, and I was like shaking uncontrollably. And he went and got the nurse and they came in and I had a fever of like 105 and they were like, what the heck's happening? And they were trying to call the doctor to come in and she was like, it was like they were like on call. So like no one had a baby. So they were not they weren't in the area. So we had to wait for the doctor to come and not gonna lie. After that, everything is a blur. I like remember bits and pieces of like seeing people and like getting blood work done. But to make a long story short, we were there for 9 days. I ended up in the ICU at one point. And so basically what happened is from what I understand, because we still never really got a clear answer from my doctor, but I basically got, so I had chorea, which was, from my C-section, they sent out my placenta because they think it had an infection on it, which it did. It had chorea, which I'm pretty sure is from her pooping in me. I'm pretty sure that's what that means. Any doctors can correct me if I'm wrong. And then I had choreo, then that turned into a like uterine infection. Then I got sepsis. And then I got an ileus in my stomach from all the like the trauma and stuff. My GI tract just like stopped and I got an ileus. So I like basically nothing was like happening there. I had catheters inserted and taken out and put back in. I was hooked up to an IV basically the entire time. I blew up like a tick. It was literally disgusting how big. I said I look like the people from WALL-E, if you've ever seen the cartoon WALL-E. Like, and they like sit in their chairs and they like can't move their legs or their arms and they're just like, so not to be mean, but they were so fat. Like I literally was like that and it was just all fluid. And I was like, what the heck? And so anyway, like I had MRIs and CAT scans and ultrasounds like every day and everyone's just trying to figure out what it was. I got really bad one night that they ended up having to put me in the ICU. And I shout out to my ICU nurses. I don't even remember their names. I remember the one girl's name was Amanda because we had the same name. And then I want to say the other one was like Brianna or something like that, or Brianna or something, I thought, or Brie or something. But they were amazing. They braided my hair, and the entire time I was there, it was disgusting, but I never had like a bath or a shower because everyone was just in the maternity unit was just trying to like make me survive. They were like literally scared that I wasn't going to make it. And and so they were so good, and they braided my hair. They gave me a sponge bath. They sprayed Bath and Body perfume on me and like put lotion on me to make me feel good and pretty and smelled good. And they were so amazing. But so after the ICU, they decided that I was good to go up to the maternity unit, and because my vitals started getting better, the medicine started helping, but the ileus, they just could not get the ileus to, basically they couldn't like fix it, and they didn't want to do surgery because they didn't think I was going to make it through surgery. From what my husband said, a couple times in that process, the surgery team was like outside the door, like waiting a couple times, that I went really bad, that they were like trying not to do surgery, but they thought like they were gonna have to, and they like prepared Matt that like I probably wouldn't make it through surgery. So super dramatic. Very dramatic. And so I ended up getting an NG tube inserted. If you've ever had one, they suck. They're horrible. I'm like terrified to swallow pills now. I have like PTSD from it. I always joke around because it goes like up your nose and like down your throat. And the one day my nurse gave me pills and didn't turn it off, and it got stuck, and I was like gagging and like I couldn't breathe for a second. And then I threw up the pill and everything with an NG tube in it still because I didn't want to take it out because I didn't want to have to get put back in. And it was horrible. So I have PTSD from that. But basically the NG tube got my stomach, my GI tract all fixed. The ileus went away. I was all good. So after that though, I was on so much pain medication and so much pain everywhere else that I never got to like feel the C-section pain or like birthing pain. Like I never got to like recover from anything. And at one point I had to stop breastfeeding in the hospital, and they told me I could either pump and dump, or to like keep my milk coming in for when I got off my antibiotics, or I could risk it breastfeeding, or I could just be done. And I remember like being so mad secret in my head because I'm like, all this crap is happening, and the one thing that my body and me and my daughter are bonding on is breastfeeding, and I lost it. And I'm gonna get all teary-eyed again, but it like broke my heart because I was like, what the heck? Like that's the one thing that me and her bonded over, and you're telling me that I can't do it. I can't hold her because I'm so weak, and it hurts my IVs to hold her in my arms, and they're taking blood every day, and all my arms are like blown, my veins are black and blue, and everything hurts, and I can't hold her, and the one thing I could do is breastfeed, and I can't do that anymore. And I just remember being like, well, I don't want to endanger her, and I don't want to be milked like a cow in the hospital. So I was like, I'm just gonna be done. And it was really hard, but I did it. I acted like it didn't bug me as much as it did, but it definitely hurt a lot. And so after getting better, me and my husband were leaving the hospital, and we get in the car, and I look at my husband, and I was like, well, we did that. Like that happened. And he was like, yeah. And he was so strong for me. And I don't know how I would have done it without him. He was so just calm, and I don't know. When you go through a traumatic thing like that with the person you love the most in this world, it definitely like bonds you differently, and you look at each other differently. And, you know, I don't know. I've always known how much he's loved me, but I don't know, it felt different. And so we leave, and I look at him, and I'm just like, it sucked, but I honestly would probably do it all over again if I could have her, like just have her, because she was just so perfect, and I just like wanted her. And the nurses were always telling us like she was so beautiful. Everyone kept saying how beautiful she was. And I remember like me and my husband look back now, we're like, she looked like an alien, and people thought she was beautiful. Like she was so goofy looking, but we love her. She's our alien. But we leave, and for a while I just floated by and got through because I had her in November, and by the time we got home, our anniversary happened. Then we had Thanksgiving. We spent our anniversary in the hospital, which was fun. The nurses were the best. They took her so we could watch a movie, and they like took pictures for us, which was really nice. But they took her that night so me and Matt could watch a movie and just cuddle in my hospital bed. And he climbed up in bed with me. And even though every couple hours I had to get my vitals checked every like 2 hours, and I had to take pills and stuff and different things, they still like try to give us our time together. But So it was like all this stuff happened on Thanksgiving that I just had to be like, I just had to be thankful, and I had to be good, and I just had to like get through it. And then we go into December and it's the chaos, and Christmas is coming up, and we're just trying to survive with a newborn. And January hit, and I had once again a mental breakdown a year later, and another mental breakdown. And I was like, what the heck? This is not like, I remember going on Instagram and everyone announced, like, everyone that had their, like, when you're in your 20s, everyone has babies. Like, it's annoying. And I kept seeing people post their maternity pictures and their baby pictures and just all this stuff. And I'm like, why does everybody get a perfect little story? And like, mine is so jacked up. Like, I thought my whole life, I thought that I was going to be a mom. Like, I thought I was called to be a mom because I just loved, like, I would just love on other people's kids. And I was like, I just wanted so bad one of my own kids that I could love on. And that person, that little person to cling on me and just want me and need me. And it was like heartbreaking that I didn't get that. And I mean, I got that. I just didn't get it in the way that I thought I was going to get it. And, life was chaotic and different, and it was really hard. And I was just like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be at all. And I felt guilty for not, I felt like I didn't like have a bond with my daughter. I felt like my husband had it more because he was the one always holding her, and like he had to help me a lot. And in the hospital, I didn't change her one time in the hospital because I couldn't. And, like giving her bottles, like I couldn't do it for a while. And it was like when we got home and I had to do all that stuff, I just felt like me and her had I was like, she doesn't feel like mine. Like, she doesn't feel like me. Like, I don't understand. Like, I thought I was going to like feel her and just love her so much. And I didn't feel it. Like, what the heck? I didn't feel it. And I was like getting so mad at myself and so frustrated. And I definitely went into like a little bit of a postpartum depression. And that was really hard for me because, as a Christian, you're not allowed to feel that. Not that you're not allowed to feel that, but everyone's like, oh, you just feel like you have to trust God. And like, Amanda, you're like, you need to trust. If you're not trusting God, like, you're not going to like get through that, and just take it to God and read scripture over your life and all these things. And it was like, I didn't want to do that. Like, I was mad at God. Like, he didn't do what he said he was going to do. I got a boy. I had a miscarriage. I had a horrible birthing process. Like, why did all these things happen? Then I had people give me the numbers of a lawyer to talk about suing. And I was like, well, maybe at least we could get some benefit out of suing them, and like, they won't ever do this to anyone again. And I talked to the lawyer, and he's like, yeah, since you and your daughter are okay, there's not really much that we can do to sue them. And I remember being like, what? Like, there has to be something. Like, all this stuff just happened, and I'm talking to other people, and they're like, that shouldn't have happened. And I'm hearing different stories from different people and all these opinions. And like, I just remember just being like, so just like lost, just looking for something. And all I wanted was just to feel that connection with my daughter, and I didn't feel it. And I just wanted to blame someone for it. When in reality, I think that the movies definitely, and like social media definitely, like, emphasize how beautiful that it is a beautiful process, but like, I don't know, not everyone's different, and it's okay if you don't feel that initial connection with your kid, because it is a weird thing that just happened to you, and your hormones are through the roof. And I felt so guilty, like I didn't read enough about the birthing process, and I knew nothing, and it was my fault that all happened, because I should have stood up to my doctors, or I should have demanded the C-section. And I just like thought so many different things that happened was I took all the guilt, and I took everything on me. It was my fault. And I was portraying that guilt on my daughter by being like, I am not good enough for you. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do for you. I'm not providing. I couldn't even breastfeed you. And like, all my friends were breastfeeding, and I felt so guilty that I wasn't breastfeeding. And I'm like, look at them. They're being such good moms, and they're have that connection with their kid, and they love their kid so much, and they just are providing that healthy lifestyle, and their kid's going to be better than my kid. And I'm like, I felt like I was like taking something away from her. And I was like, in a month, like at the end of November, my what is it called? The lactation specialist, she called me, and she was like, if you want to get back to breastfeeding, we still can. And I was like, but all my milk my milk dried up. And she was like, yeah, there's ways that you can try to get your milk back. And I remember being like, yeah, I just got off like all these like medications and stuff. There's no way that I am doing that. Like, there's no way. So I just felt like I had that option, and I turned it down. And why did I turn it down? And just all these different things. And to end this podcast, I shared all of this because I feel like I had a very unique experience, and it wasn't great. It wasn't horrible. Like, it wasn't like the worst experience ever, but I like mom guilt is real, and it can happen from the time that before you even have the baby to like till they're like 18 or 30 or however old. But mom guilt's real, and we have expectations, and it's okay to have those expectations. Like, if you're like me, I tried so hard when I like after she was born to just get rid of my expectations, because I was like nothing ever met my expectations, so it was like I need to just get rid of them, and I couldn't get rid of them, and I'd get mad at myself that I couldn't get rid of them. And like, it's okay to expect things, it's okay. And it's okay to be upset when things don't go the way you thought they were going to be. We're human. It's natural to like want to desire perfection, and the only perfect one that we have in this world is God, and you desire him because you're created to desire him. You were created in his image. You were created to be perfect in his image. And I think that's the thing that we like overlook and we don't really talk about is you feel that way for a reason. You are struggling for a reason because you're meant to be one with God. Like, you're meant to be with God, and you're meant to be like want his perfection in your life. And when we don't have that in our life, we kind of like are like, what do we do? And so yeah, so hopefully that encourages you. And then also too, I just wanted to end saying, like, it's okay when things don't work out the way that we want them to. And it's okay if we feel like we're not doing a good job. It's okay if we feel lonely. It's okay if we pity ourselves. And it's like, that stuff's all okay. You're allowed to have feelings. You're allowed to have emotions, and you're allowed to feel all that. And I hope that by hearing everything that I went through, and let me tell you, I still like, it's like funny lately. I've been telling my husband that I have baby fever. And just so everybody knows, I'm literally filming this the day before I'm releasing this. So, because I like waited to do this, or not the day before, probably a week before I release this, but, because I waited to do this last minute. I don't know why I did, but it was just a last minute thing I felt. But, I literally had baby fever so bad right now. And I almost felt like I felt it because I just like wanted a do-over, and I was ready for a do-over. And I'm not going to lie. I'm really scared, like terrified to get pregnant again, because what if I still have the thought of, what if I have another miscarriage? What if I have a stillbirth? What if I have an ectopic pregnancy, even though I never had one? But what if what if the same thing happens in the hospital again? What if my body is just not meant to bear children? Like, what if I'm not meant to be a mom, and I'm like pushing it, and I'm making myself be a mom, and I'm just not meant to be a mom? And I struggled so hard with figuring out my like identity in being a mom, and like what my role as a mom. I struggled so much with it that I'm like, well, maybe this just wasn't God's plan for me, and I just wanted this because of other people. And that is such a lie from the enemy. That is not true in any way, shape, or form. And so if you feel those feelings and you feel that way, you're not alone. I feel that way, and I'm still working through it. I'm not 100% through it. I'm still terrified to go back to the hospital. I haven't even picked out a gynecologist yet, because after I had the birth of my daughter, that place closed, and my doctors all left. And I mean, I was going to get new doctors anyway, just because of everything that happened. But so like, it's just life. I don't have the answer for you. But I just like hope you're not alone, and that this place, I'm literally trying to create a space on social media where we can just be real and talk about our stories. It could be unfiltered, and that we just have conversations that are real, and that, we're not perfect, and things happen, and sometimes we don't know the answer, and we don't need the answer. Like, we don't need the answer. We just need to know we're not alone. That's all we need. And so hopefully this reaches you. But I just want to thank you for watching. I'm sorry this was a really long one, but I just really felt it on my heart to share this. And I hope that, it helps somebody. And if not, hey, it helped me talking about it. But thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my podcast. Make sure you follow me on all those social media and podcast platforms, because I would love for you to listen. And if you ever have a question, or you want to be on my podcast, you feel like you have a cool story to share, please reach out, because this whole podcast was created to give people a platform, and I want to give people a platform to talk and share their story, because amazing things happen and people that I like are all over the world, and I would just love to share it. So if you are in the Pittsburgh area, I would love for you to be on my podcast. So reach out to me. But thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.